Okay, episode 21 of American Gothic. The buck stops here. Such a great title. We open on like a really this scene just kind of was funny to me, but Selena and Dr. Beale are in bed together, and it turns out to be the sheriff's bed. They've broken into his place, so Selena helped Beale get in there because he was looking for some missing files. And Selena starts telling him how she wants to kill the sheriff. I guess she wants his help or something. And then Buck comes home. The sheriff comes home, and I think she wants the sheriff to know that they were there. But he does anyway because he's the sheriff. So anyway, we get the credits, and then we meet a pharmacist called Yancey, and he's reading Wordsworth to his dying wife in the hospital when she starts to convulse. I find this kind of funny. The poem that he's reading to her, I'm pretty sure Wordsworth wrote about his sister, because he wrote a lot of like really lovely poems about his sister, who was like his best friend basically, or almost like his only friend. This is kind of like a side thing, but I just thought it was kind of interesting that this guy's reading it to his wife. I don't know. You know, it's one of those things where you're like, it's Trinity, you know? Whatever. She starts to convulse, and we find out that Yancey is the one who wants the file back, and Buck has hidden it just to kind of mess with him so that he can't really have all the details of what's going on with his wife and stuff. Peel tells him that he couldn't find the file. So Yancey goes to the sheriff and asks what the deal is. So basically, he made a deal with the sheriff, but he didn't word the deal carefully. So what the sheriff has done is kept her alive in exchange for him framing a judge, I think. But all the sheriff's done is kept her alive. He hasn't actually healed her or brought her out of a coma. So Yancey's like, right, I'm not going to let you hurt any more people. So he goes back to the hospital, back to work, and he overhears Selena and Peel talking in another room about killing Buck. Basically, Selena thinks that Buck's third eye is his weak point, like the center of his forehead. Peel basically thinks that she's crazy. He isn't keen to commit murder, obviously, because he's a doctor. And they kind of generally prefer to do the opposite. So the reason that she thinks that, this is kind of like a running theme through this episode. The sheriff like pops in to see her in class, and he has this like speech thing that he goes on about on the US currency. I don't know if it's on all the bills because I'm not US based. I think I've only seen like American currency a few times, but on the US dollar there's some Masonic symbology. There's a temple, and the all-seeing eye is above it, and there's a little bit of Latin, and it just comes from the Masonic. They're just like an order that people think are very mysterious. And Buck basically says he's the one mentioned on the money, and that money is the root of all evil. So he's basically there to warn Selena off, but we kind of learn a little bit of like maybe lore that's sort of behind stuff. But Caleb is in the classroom, so he picks up on this as well. So basically Peel is like, this is all getting a bit ridiculous. So he goes back to Buck's, see if he can get the files, see if he can talk to the sheriff. But somebody else is in the house as well. So when the sheriff comes home, he gets stabbed like with this like a medical instrument through the forehead. Peel takes him to hospital, but he ends up getting arrested for like attacking the sheriff in his house. When the sheriff wakes up, he wants Caleb, I guess, to transfer himself into Caleb. So then Peel is arrested, and Caleb goes to see Peel in prison because, you know, Caleb can just go anywhere at any time, which I guess is like partly because he's related to Buck, to the sheriff, but like he's just anyway, I've said this before, but like it's just like no safe boundaries around this child. But anyway, when he goes to see Peel, it seems like the sheriff's already taken over his body. I think, like the way he talks and stuff. He gets taken to the sheriff. The sheriff whispers something in his ear, asking him to do something. And it seems like Caleb's pretty compliant. Then Buck just like flatlines while Caleb's still in the room. Again, with him just, you know, being there while everyone's trying to resuscitate the sheriff and stuff. So then we cut to Buck's funeral. Things are moving pretty quickly. There's this nice like little scene where a bunch of characters who owe him stuff that we've seen him have deals with and stuff in previous episodes come by, and one of them is just like says how he's always hated the sheriff's vests. I'm like, I love that. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of nice. I feel like Ben is genuinely sad. Caleb steps up to the coffin and gives like a weird, creepy kid smile, which it seems to me like kids just sometimes do that, so I'm not sure, but it's obviously meant to tell us something. Gail is upset because apparently she really loved the sheriff, which, I mean, that's fine, whatever. Selena is not impressed by this. They have like this weird rivalry thing in the last couple of episodes. Sheriff has black candles at his funeral. I haven't been to like a church funeral, but I feel like that's an aesthetic choice. Yeah, so then we got to Yancey. He goes back to his wife and he's planning to end her kind of like half life, like because it's unnatural. Obviously because he made a deal with the sheriff. And he sees that she's actually died naturally since all of this has started to happen. So I guess some stuff ends with the sheriff's death. But Merlin turns up, she performs a miracle, and she brings Yancey's wife back so they can say goodbye to each other. It's very sweet. Then we have Ben. He asks Peel about a book found at the house, and it's the Wordsworth book that we saw earlier. So Peel just immediately shops Yancey, and he's let go straight away. Caleb turns up at the pharmacy, and he's there to have revenge on Yancey. He's like, my dad is in me. I'm not making fun of the southern accents because I actually think like northern state Americans seem to really pick on the southern accent. I think the southern accents are really, really nice. So I could listen to somebody with any of us like a southern accent, just talk all day basically. But anyway, that's kind of beside the point. I just didn't want anyone to think I was picking on the accent because I actually think it's lovely. Caleb's ditched the stripes. He's wearing his suit that he wore to the funeral. So I wonder if stripes are meant to kind of symbolize the kind of, you know, things that kids wear, and then the suit is more adult. But he's made Yancey take like a bunch of pills, like all of the pills. And Ben notices that something is up with Caleb. So I found this scene a bit kind of tough. Like it was kind of, I know we've seen some sort of graphic-ish, like graphic for the 90s stuff in this series, but there's like all of these pills in this guy's mouth. Like I think they didn't use any special effects or anything here, and so it just looks much more realistic. But it looks like Peel is able to kind of help Yancey to survive, and to confess to like basically save himself. So I guess he like saves Yancey so that he doesn't have to go to prison in his place, pretty much. But I don't know. We have a little bit of stuff with Gail just before I close out the episode. There's the head doctor from the hospital, tells her a little bit about how Caleb's mom's pregnancy was kind of weird. He's like trying to reassure her basically. we learn that Gail hasn't told Caleb that she's pregnant, but she's like Rosemary's baby eating like blood and raw meat. So, you know, we're probably like Ben's pretty concerned about her. I think Caleb's gonna figure it out if he doesn't know already. Caleb says he needs his allowance. This is like earlier in the episode, but he like does this thing where he gets like singles, so I guess that's $1 bills, and he cuts the temple out of the buck, which I guess is like what he's trying to do on some other level as well. So he's trying to resist joining the mysterious order that I guess Buck is like the leader of, kind of thing. There's like this thing that they say where it's like there can be only one or something. No, wait, that's Highlander. You basically are like, I don't know. There's just a phrase in Latin on the dollar bill, and he's like the leader of the order. And he's like the all-seeing eye and stuff. You know, supernatural stuff. It's kind of MacGuffin stuff, which is why I'm not like being overly, you know, pedantic about telling you exactly what it is, because it's like, I don't know. It's kind of, I feel like a lot of this like stuff with the Masons, because a lot of their stuff that they do is secret. There's a lot of conspiracy theories around them. And I feel like we've probably all had these conspiracy theories before. You know, you get the idea. Apparently, we're kind of saying that Buck is the head of the Masonic like order or some kind of mysterious order, and that he has like eternal life and he's the devil. And, you know, this is kind of like par for the course in this series. Yeah, so at the very end of the episode, Caleb goes back to where the sheriff is lying in his coffin, and he just puts a buck on top of Buck's coffin, and inside the sheriff's eyes open. So I guess the implication is that he was in Caleb's body for some of the time of this episode, but that Caleb has managed to kick him out again. So he's back. He has to go somewhere, so he's back in his old body inside the coffin. And that's the end of the episode. So yeah, there you have it. We've just got the last one to go. Or I guess hopefully everything will be nicely, neatly rounded up. Fingers crossed.